The story opens in the muted glow of a suburban kitchen late at night, a space that should feel comforting but instead radiates tension. Claire, a 29-year-old woman whose life has been defined by routine and quiet ambition, sits at the kitchen table with a bank statement clutched tightly in her hand. The overhead light casts stark shadows across her face, highlighting the exhaustion etched into her features. Every movement, her tapping fingers, the slight furrow in her brow, speaks to a mind weighed down by both suspicion and resolve. The kitchen is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of a wall clock marking time like an unrelenting reminder of reality. The night amplifies every sound, turning the soft creak of the floorboards outside into a tense drumbeat of anticipation. Ryan, her 32-year-old husband, enters late, his presence unannounced yet familiar, filling the room with a faint mixture of perfume and smoke. The contrast between the ordinary domestic setting and the charged atmosphere of their interaction immediately establishes a sense of unease. Claire's eyes meet his, steady but wary, as she braces herself for confrontation. The stage is set. This is not just a marital discussion, it is the quiet eruption of a growing distrust, the beginning of a psychological battle in a place that should feel safe and intimate. By situating the audience in this detailed, emotionally layered domestic scene, the story invites viewers to feel the tension themselves, to lean in and witness the subtle dissonance between outward normalcy and inner turmoil. The emotional hook emerges the moment Claire confronts Ryan about the mysterious bank charges. Instead of offering clarity, he deflects, twisting the narrative and labeling her concerns as paranoia. "You're always looking for problems." This interaction immediately signals to the audience that the conflict is not just external but psychological. Gaslighting, a manipulative tactic designed to make the victim question their perception of reality, is introduced here with precision. Ryan's calm, almost practiced demeanor contrasts sharply with Claire's internal chaos. As viewers, we experience the shock of betrayal in tandem with her growing self-doubt. The intimacy of the setting, the kitchen where they've shared countless meals, conversations, and quiet nights, becomes a stage for emotional manipulation. Claire's confrontation is measured, precise. She presents facts, yet Ryan's smooth denial and redirection erode her certainty, making the audience complicit in her confusion and fear. The audience is drawn in because this is a universal tension, the betrayal by someone trusted most. Through subtle visual cues, his casual shrug, the gentle kiss on her forehead that seems to erase the accusation, the scene communicates layers of deceit and control. The emotional hook doesn't rely on physical drama or overt action, it relies on the quiet terror of seeing one's reality dismissed and distorted by the person they love. The immediate conflict crystallizes when Claire discovers the charges on their joint account to an unfamiliar hotel. Ryan's nonchalant reaction, shrugging and offering lies that flow as effortlessly as a practiced script, intensifies the tension, drawing the audience into Claire's perspective. Her shock and disbelief mirror the viewer's own, creating a shared sense of suspense and moral outrage. By juxtaposing the banal domesticity of a quiet kitchen with the revelation of potential infidelity, the narrative immediately destabilizes the sense of safety both Claire and the audience feel. Ryan's actions, his lies, the casual kiss, his attempt to normalize the situation, demonstrate emotional manipulation at its most insidious, and the audience is forced to question not only his morality but the very foundation of their marriage. This conflict is layered, it is external, in the form of potential betrayal, and internal, as Claire navigates the tension between trust and suspicion. The audience pull is instantaneous. They are compelled to see how Claire will respond, feeling the weight of her isolation, the erosion of certainty, and the creeping sense of danger lurking beneath the surface of normal life. The scene sets the tone for a story where every domestic detail, every shared meal, every familiar gesture can mask deceit, ensuring viewers are hooked not just by the plot, but by the psychological intensity that promises high emotional stakes throughout the narrative. Claire's formative years were marked by instability and fractured relationships, shaping her into someone who craved order and predictability. Growing up in a household where arguments were frequent and affection conditional, she learned early to navigate chaos with careful observation and quiet compliance. This upbringing instilled in her both resilience and an insatiable desire for security, qualities that guided her choices into adulthood. Choosing nursing as a profession was natural for Claire, It allowed her to channel her nurturing instincts into a structured, socially valued role. In the hospital's sterile, controlled environment, she could care for others in ways she sometimes struggled to extend to herself. Yet beneath the professional calm was a woman often exhausted, emotionally depleted, and silently longing for validation and stability. Her marriage to Ryan initially seemed to fulfill that yearning. He was charming, ambitious, and attentive, the kind of partner who smiled in public, hosted dinner parties flawlessly, and made her feel admired and cared for. On the surface, he embodied the safety and normalcy Claire had always sought. But her past taught her to look for signs beneath the facade, a skill that would soon make her both hyper-aware and painfully vulnerable. The audience, knowing her backstory, immediately empathizes with her yearning for trust and security, understanding why Ryan's betrayal cuts so deeply and why the tension between appearance and reality will form the emotional backbone of the narrative. From the outside, Claire and Ryan's marriage is a model of modern domestic perfection, a stylish home in a quiet suburb, mutual friends who admire their partnership, and elegant dinner parties that project warmth and sophistication. But beneath this polished exterior, the relationship is fraught with imbalance and quiet manipulation. Ryan's charm masks a more controlling nature. He dismisses Claire's opinions in subtle ways, often redirecting conversations to suit his agenda. He controls finances tightly, leaving Claire with limited agency over the money she helped earn, while isolating her emotionally through subtle critiques, passive aggression, and selective attention. Each day is a delicate negotiation, where small victories feel fleeting and every disagreement risks escalation. The audience begins to recognize that the perfect marriage they see is a carefully curated image rather than reality, increasing tension as they witness Claire's growing awareness of her emotional confinement. The contrast between public admiration and private dissatisfaction also serves to heighten the stakes. Betrayal, when it emerges, will not only shatter trust but also force Claire to confront the illusions she has clung to for years. In this setup, the marriage functions almost like a cage, comfortable enough to prevent escape, yet constrictive enough to make the eventual revelation of infidelity and manipulation devastatingly potent. The inciting incident begins with Claire's accidental discovery of Ryan's second phone, hidden meticulously in his gym bag. The phone is sleek, carefully wiped clean of any traces of her presence, suggesting months of planning. When she hesitantly unlocks it, she finds a flurry of messages that confirm her worst fears. Ryan has been living a secret, parallel life. There are texts from a mysterious woman, photos of lavish dinners, hotel reservations, and casual declarations of affection, promises that were never meant for Claire. Even more jarring are the conversations about moving in together, financial planning, and intimate details that make the betrayal painfully tangible. The audience experiences the immediacy of discovery alongside Claire. The narrative pace accelerates as each text functions like a knife, carving away layers of trust and familiarity. This revelation does more than expose infidelity, it signals the collapse of the world Claire thought she knew. The subtle signs she may have overlooked, the late nights, the unexplained expenses, Ryan's small evasions, coalesce into a horrifying clarity. The juxtaposition between Ryan's carefully curated public image and his hidden duplicity not only shocks Claire but also draws viewers into the tension, rooting them in her perspective. The betrayal is visceral, detailed, and layered, ensuring that the audience feels both emotional resonance and moral outrage. By making the discovery intimate, private, and sudden, the story sets a high-stakes emotional landscape from which Claire must navigate both internal and external conflicts. The impact of the betrayal is not immediate spectacle but a quiet, devastating collapse. Claire's world shatters in silence. There is no scream, no dramatic confrontation in the moment of discovery. Instead, she retreats into the privacy of her emotions, processing the enormity of Ryan's deception through journaling, a method familiar to viewers who value introspection and internal struggle. Her entries are raw and fragmented. Who is this man? Did I ever know him? Each sentence is a reflection of disbelief, grief, and self-doubt, illustrating the depth of her psychological trauma. The audience witnesses her unraveling from within, experiencing the slow erosion of trust, the creeping sense of isolation, and the confusion over her own judgment. By choosing introspection over immediate confrontation, the narrative emphasizes Claire's humanity and vulnerability, making her emotional journey relatable. The collapse also underscores the insidious nature of betrayal. It is not just the affair but the rewriting of reality, where the life she built on trust is revealed as a carefully constructed illusion. This quiet devastation heightens suspense and empathy, allowing viewers to feel the weight of her internal conflict and setting up the critical decisions she will face in response to Ryan's manipulation. Claire's next confrontation with Ryan escalates the stakes, revealing the breadth of his manipulation. Instead of confessing or apologizing, Ryan flips the narrative, accusing Claire of invading his privacy, weaponizing her own moral outrage against her. He leverages threats of divorce and social humiliation to intimidate her, demonstrating the calculated cruelty behind his charm. Evelyn, his polished and protective mother, aligns with him, publicly casting Claire as unstable, reinforcing isolation and intensifying the social pressure she faces. This dual-layered betrayal, emotional and social, forces Claire to see the full extent of Ryan's control and deception. The turning point crystallizes when she understands this is not merely an affair but a systematic campaign to undermine her credibility, gaslight her perception, and maintain dominance. The audience recognizes the shift from personal heartbreak to strategic survival. Claire's path is no longer about love lost but about reclaiming agency, truth, and self-respect. The scene establishes the central conflict that will drive the narrative forward: Claire versus the orchestrated web of lies, manipulation, and societal scrutiny. By layering personal devastation with social fallout, the story ensures high emotional stakes, compelling viewers to root for Claire's empowerment while remaining deeply invested in the unraveling tension between appearance and reality. As the narrative progresses, Claire's world grows increasingly constricted under Ryan's manipulations. He tightens his control in subtle but devastating ways, changing passwords, monitoring her access to shared accounts, and restricting financial independence. Each action reinforces a sense of dependency, forcing Claire into a corner where even basic autonomy feels elusive. Their mutual friends, previously sources of support, begin to withdraw, wary of offending Ryan or caught in the discomfort of divided loyalties. Social isolation compounds the emotional strain, making Claire feel like an outsider in the life she built. Meanwhile, Evelyn, Ryan's polished and calculating mother, quietly amplifies the pressure. She spreads insinuations about Claire's mental stability, casting doubt on her credibility without overt confrontation. The rumor mill, combined with Ryan's strategic charm in public, positions Claire as the unreliable party in her own life. The audience experiences this isolation intimately. Every friendly face that turns away, every barrier to communication, heightens the tension and intensifies empathy for Claire. It is not merely physical or social confinement, it is psychological, a slow erosion of confidence and self-trust that sets the stage for her eventual confrontation with both the betrayal and her own fears. The stakes are clear. Claire is trapped in a maze of manipulation, forced to navigate a world where her reality is constantly questioned and her voice systematically diminished. Amidst the escalating pressure, small sparks of resilience emerge, providing Claire and the audience with glimpses of hope. Maya, her blunt and free-spirited younger sister, refuses to let Claire be erased quietly. She urges Claire to meticulously document every text, bank statement, and interaction with Ryan, turning chaos into evidence. These acts of organization give Claire a tangible sense of control, transforming vulnerability into a proactive stance. Likewise, Daniel, her empathetic co-worker and fellow ER doctor, provides quiet emotional support. He reminds her that survival is not enough, that she deserves honesty, respect, and fulfillment in life. These interactions, though brief, reinforce the idea that Claire is not alone in principle, even if the social world seems to be closing in. The audience witnesses her internal transformation, moving from shock and despair toward cautious empowerment. The emotional tension is heightened because these moments of strength are fragile, they exist alongside the pervasive control Ryan exerts. Yet they are critical. They plant the seeds for Claire's eventual awakening, signaling that agency is possible even in the face of relentless manipulation. The emotional intensity reaches its apex during Ryan's orchestrated displays of perfection in public. At a dinner party, he charms guests with effortless ease while Claire maintains a strained smile, performing normalcy even as she fractures internally. The juxtaposition of his polished exterior and her hidden pain amplifies the psychological tension for viewers, who are invited to inhabit Claire's dual consciousness, what she must show and what she truly feels. Later that night, when Ryan whispers venomously, "No one will ever believe you," the gaslighting crystallizes into a near-physical blow.